Yes, sir. Thanks for tuning in to the Still Knicks Fans podcast. This is our Know the Ledge episode. It's our playoff recap of games 3 and 4, and basically a preview of what we expect is going to be happening in game 5. So, hey, man, I'm your man, Ron. That's my brother, John. I'm a little. It's a lot of funk in the air, man. I'm not really hyped the way I was, but let's go. Let's get it, man. What's happening?
Hey, listen, man. In my opinion, we fell short, but there's nothing really to be that much disappointed in as far as our season is concerned. We've done all we can this year. We're playing a really good Hawks team. I didn't give them enough credit when we did our start. I'll give you that because I think you kind of hit it on the nose. They're a very talented team. They're young. They got good shooters around them. Trey Young is stepping up his game. He is starting to show his legitimacy right now as an all-star. I didn't give credit where credit was due. I thought the Knicks would have shot better from the field. Obviously, that's not the case. And we're down. We're down 3-1. So it's keep winning or you're gone. Or you go home early. So
yeah. No, I mean, listen, man. I even though I thought that the Hawks were gonna be a more formidable opponent than they initially showed, I didn't realize how much better Nate McMillan makes them. I mean, Granted, Nate McMillan was the coach the third time we played them and beat them. However, he had just become the coach, so he didn't have a chance to really instill his defensive principles and all this stuff. And once he got those principles going, they went on a run. I think they finished, 20-4 or 6 or 18-2 at home. It was crazy. So obviously he must have really changed the culture for them, and they brought it into the playoffs. So you got that. We're expecting one type of Hawks team, and we're getting a little different look because they're a little better on the defensive side. And then you got playoff basketball. And playoff basketball has been a wake-up call for the Knicks. I think we were all expecting their defense to be ratcheted up because of the playoffs, and they were going to be even better and more ferocious, not really thinking on the Hawks aspect of it and how good their game plan is for Julius Randle and R.J. Barrett. And really, it is, dude, because I couldn't believe when I saw the press conference after Game 3, and Julius was talking about how they were doing different things, but we're going to come out and make some adjustments or whatever. But it was him talking, it was RJ talking, and it was Derrick Rose talking. And one of the things they said, they kind of alluded to, is Derrick Rose said it, is that they're showing them different looks. They can't necessarily see where the double team's coming from. They're disguising it. So the fact that you in Game 3 and you've been playing them and you still don't know where these double teams are coming from, that bothered me. That was a little bit of a scary thought. And that shows that obviously Nate McMillan put up, he came out with a great scheme. So I was a little worried about that, and I still am.
You're now coached, is what you're saying right now.
I was going to get there, but where we're going, yes.
Yeah, I would say there's a part of that too, and there's also a lack of discipline in regards to how the players themselves are taking ownership of where they need to be defensively, because there comes a point in time where you have to make those rotations. You know what I mean? Like as a player, you have to make a consistent rotation, and you should be calling out where you're going. And it seems like there were multiple opportunities where the Hawks are doing a great job of swinging the ball around, right? And they're making the second and third pass. When those passes are made, you have to, when you're doing the rotation, you have to call out where you're going. And right now, it looks like the Knicks aren't really communicating effectively on the defensive end, because there are multiple times where you see guys run, 2 guys, sometimes 3, running at the same player. And it's like you can't overload on too many players, especially if you're trapping Trey Young and he's getting past the trap, right? That's one thing. There are soft traps. They're not even hard traps. Like you're not you either come physically or you don't, and that's part of the problem. They're kind of in between, and I think the Hawks' game plan has proven to be kind of. I think they scouted better as far as like where the Knicks like the ball, the players like the ball, and where they like to put shoot from, where areas, whether they're stronger left or right hand. It seems like they did a better preparation than the Knicks have, and it's showing up in the games, unfortunately. But again, it's really no slide for me because again, I didn't expect the Knicks to be in the playoffs. I don't think either of us did. But to see them go, losing, I would like to see them push it to 7 if they can. Because as of right now, it looks like if we get one, we're losing. We may lose in 6. I would love to see a game 7 if the Knicks can put together a nice run. I think if our shooters like Bullock and Burks get hot or quickly, there's a possibility, right? Because we all know that we haven't shot the ball well from the 3-point range or even from the perimeter. Like really, as a team, we haven't shot the ball well. It's pretty much been one and done in the game we won too. To be honest, the game that we won, we weren't really shooting the ball well. We just got some. I think we got a couple of turnovers and balls that bounced our way, and we got a little good fortune. So
yeah, and Atlanta wasn't shooting that great in the fourth quarter, right, which was the best possible time for us. So
exactly. So and again, to what you're saying, if we're not hitting, if we're not knocking down shots, we don't really stand a chance against a team as formidable as the Hawks, who can shoot the ball really well in a high percentage, especially if you're collapsing and you're double teaming on the shooters, like Trae Young specifically. I know there were a couple of traps on Bogdanovic, but again, they're passing the ball well and hitting the open player, and they're knocking down the shots. Because even Herter, hit a big shots last game. Gallinari hit big shots last game. So yeah. Yeah,
I think it kind of sucks because I'm but it's not far fetched. This whole time when we looked at this series, and other people on the outside looking at this series, Atlanta's the underdog. Knicks
it is. Yeah.
But you know what? If I have to look at these two teams in a vacuum in the bubble, especially what I'm seeing, looks like Atlanta's the better team. And when you look at the end of the season, they finished with the same record. I think it's either 1 game difference.
The Hawks had a stronger win streak, right? My interpretation of that they had the easier schedule too.
Right. That they did, but they finished with the same record as us at home.
Right.
So it's like, it's one of those things where if they play defense the way they've been playing defense, they're the better team because their offense, they got so many different options that even when certain guys aren't going good, all these other guys are because they can all shoot. It's really tough to play a team when you got, the worry about the guards, the forwards, and even sometimes when they put certain centers in the game. They put Solomon Hill in the game. He's draining threes from the corner. If they go small ball and do something with
the young kid.
I forget his name. But if they put him in the game, he's locking down the paint. He's almost like a baby Capella. He blocks almost as good as Capella. And then you got him, holding down the paint area, and then they're just surrounded. I mean, it's kind of whack to watch all these dudes on the perimeter, but that's what they do. That's how they play.
The smartest thing that they did defensively is they kind of they'll throw in a double team, right? A disguised double team, but they always have a third player kind of pushing in because they're not scared of the Knicks in their 3-point shots.
No, they're not.
If you can knock down the threes, and it started with Barrett shooting the ball poorly from the field, and so did Bullock, if you can knock down those open shots, they're not going to respect that. And they rather you beat them by shooting the 3. I think that's our Achilles heel right now, and Atlanta Hawks know that because they're allowing us to shoot those threes, and they're open threes. They're good looks, but you got to hit them, and if you don't hit them, you go back on the other end, and now the pressure's on you to get a stop, and you're not getting the stops that we were getting because, like you said, they got shooters, and they're high percentage shots and shooters that they have. I think a part of it, too, is also the way they're playing Young. Young has changed his game, right? He's not the Young of the start of the season. He's actually making the right decisions and passing the ball a lot better than he was to start the season. But not only that, you're not trapping aggressively enough. It's either two things. You either got to let the team beat you or you're going to let Trey beat you. You got to pick your poison, right? And at some point, you got to realize that the team is doing so good that they're now, you can't let them get off. You let them get off, now you're gonna lose the lead like we did last in the third quarter. We went down like 15-17 in the third quarter. It was like, and we were close, but it became a situation where we kept trapping Young and letting everybody shoot open shots. Can't do that. I'd rather you let Trey beat you. If Trey can score 60 and 80 points to win a game, let him do it. Kudos to him, but you can't let the rest of the team beat you because now their confidence builds up. And that's what's happening. Their confidence is at an all-time high. They had I'm going to give mad props to them. Love the court. The court was pretty dope. It was pretty fire. I love the jersey, the MLK jersey. The gold and black was a nice touch. I'm going to give them props there. They came like they did it up in Atlanta. So props to them. But, again, open shots, man. That killed us. A lot of open shots. And then you're chasing people off the three-point line and letting Gallinari go to the basket. A slow-footed Gallinari going to the basket because you're running at the three-point shooters and you're not even, you know what I mean? Like, that's an easy enough play. Bless you. That's an easy enough play for folks to fake and then go right past you. I mean, Herter did it. Bogdanovich was doing it. Gallinari was having a field day, and it's like you can't keep chasing people off the three-point line. There comes a point in time where you either got to step up, play some strong defense, let one person beat you, not a whole team, No,
I agree. I mean, and just a disclaimer to the folks out there. We apologize. I know we weren't able to give you guys like a preview or recaps after 3 and 4, but life happens, and sometimes you gotta work with what you can work with. But we're here now. Yeah. So anyway, now back to the regular schedule program.
Grown-up things to do, so it is what it is.
Yeah. So back to the regular schedule programming.
For sure.
I am really disappointed. I'm very disappointed. Not in the fact that I'm not blaming RJ. RJ has taken the shots that have been given to him. Unfortunately, he hasn't been knocking them down at a high clip. There's a lot of pressure. It's the playoffs. He's never been in this type of situation before. He's not the greatest shooter to begin with. So we know he can hit, but he's not a three-point shooter. He's not even though he's been accurate all year. He's been in nice spots. His shot is that shot in the corner. And when things are going good, he knocks it down. But these are very tense, pressing type situations where he knows, like, I need to hit these shots. Like, there's an added level of pressure because their offense is not going well. Then you got Julius, who's definitely pressing. Now, this last game, he's played better than he played previously. But still, like, he has to force the issue because the way the games are going, like, they're double and triple teaming. So he just got to go right at them. And then you got other guys that aren't able to get off. This is where, unfortunately, what we praised the Knicks about in the first game of the series, where the rookies looked great and they were doing their thing and they were coming out aggressive, you don't see as much of that. Obi's still here and there. He's been playing pretty good, actually. I like how he's playing, but it's not enough. It's not enough.
Yeah, plus his game is extremely – in the NBA, I'm going to say in the NBA because his game in college was a little different, but his game in the NBA is way too flamboyant. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like it's a finger roll. It's it's attack the basket but fade away.
Right.
It's like it's kind of in between. It's like you don't really want to go to the basket, but then you're going to the basket to make it look like you want to be there, and then you're like laying the ball up, or finesse game. It's a very finesse, flamboyant game. And it's
I mean, that's what it is.
What's the finesse for? Like, you either go, when you go to the basket, you gotta be willing to put your body at risk and be willing to take the foul and try to dunk it on someone. Like, you should not be going to the basket thinking I'm gonna do a nice finger roll. You know what I mean? Or I'm gonna do this little trick thing that been practicing. Like that doesn't work. That's supposed to come in time. You either attack the basket aggressively, like you want to throw it on someone, or you don't, And I think he's so in between right now that it scares me, because those are not high percentage shots. They're close to the basket, but once you start doing finesse, they're not high. They're not high percentage shots. They become a circus, whether they go in or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And listen, that's why we keep saying that he really needs a nice off season, maybe a summer camp, or the G League. He needs all of that to kind of fine tune and learn different things. Somebody needs to work with him on certain moves that he can have go-to moves that he can learn from, and learning how to be more aggressive, right? But what it is,
and Randall too. That's I'm starting to see that in Randall in this series too. It's a lot more finesse than he needs to be at some point.
But I think the problem with Randall is just that he's getting this playoff intensity. The defense is just really ratcheted up against him, and he's getting all these different looks, and they don't even know how to combat the looks. So in a different series against a different team, maybe the outcome will be better. But the Hawks they're hitting him with, like, they just saying, look, you guys are Julius Randle. Without Julius Randle, you're not doing anything. And so far, they're right.
Right.
And
I mean, Rose has done a great job. When I think about our stock rises and fallers, you know what I mean? You're looking at Rose as a stock riser, and then you're looking at both Julius and Barrett as stock fallers, because they're not entertaining. And also, even Tibbs is a stock faller, in my opinion, because in the playoffs, when you see, you can't keep asking Julius to work from the 3-point line perimeter, right? You can't keep having them work 25 feet from the basket. You have to have him in the post at moments. You have to make a decision to also allow him to post players up and get him the ball at the post and make a decision from there, which makes it harder for Hawks rotation to scheme against that, right? Because they either have to double right away, right, or collapse once he makes a move. And at that point, he probably have a better idea where the double team is coming from if he's paying attention, or if his back isn't against the basket, right? Like if he gets it, free throw line, from the free throw line in, he gets it in the post, he turns into the offense and makes a decision from there. You know what I mean? Not necessarily all the time, but in spots. And I think he would see the action change a little bit for him, because he has the ability to shoot going to the right or going to the left. He likes going right, but that's when he has to start changing his game, right? Develop that spin move to allow him to shoot with left-handed, because it is a stronger hand. So, I mean, there's certain things there that I'm not seeing Coach do. I'm also seeing a lot of pick and roll with Barrett, and Barrett's just like, he's got blinders on. He's like, I'm going to the basket, don't matter who's there, and he's getting blocked. He's not making the right pass. So, Yeah, no, I mean, it's true. And part of the issue that I'm noticing too, like, honestly, in game 4, I saw a lot of it. I didn't even want to look at it because the game was already out of hand, and I'm like, oh man, I don't want to keep watching this, but I had to keep watching because I wanted to see what Thibodeau was going to do, if he was going to do anything different, if he was going to try something. Because I'm in the mindset that, you know what, you guys are not going to win this game. You want to try to continue to be in it and play competitively, but wouldn't this be a great time to try something out and see how it works against them in the fourth quarter and bring that on the next game? That's what I'm thinking.
I'm thinking at this point, first off, he had the starters on there way too long. Take those guys out, let them, talk to themselves, let them watch what's going on the court and figure out what they're going to do in the next game. Put Knox in there. Let's see how he matches up and see if he can get off. He's got the height and different things that could be used as an advantage. Yes, he's not a great defensive player, but another thing that I look at with the Hawks, which is what I thought the Knicks were going to be, because we thought they were going to have all these size at all these positions, Tina, Knox, but the Hawks have it. Outside of Trey, everybody's tall. Like they play big, and
they play their guys. They play the length. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. But again, they also probably prove it, in practice too, like that they're able and capable of playing up to this level. And I think that's something that is hard for me to decide because, look at Ntilikina. They put him in for a minute. I'm not really sure what's the minute for, to keep people away from foul trouble. I'm not really sure.
I don't know. That's criminal. I don't know what he's doing.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that annoys me, and I'm sure it annoys every Knicks fan as well as you. It's just like, why are you putting them in for like a minute, and then a minute to cost us the game before? You know what I mean? Like, you don't do those type of things. But with that said, it's like, I think the most frustrating thing is that it's a lot of one and done. And you know what I mean? Like, when the passes are happening, they're happening, and then you get good sequences of good passing. And then some of the shots supposed to get knocked down don't get knocked down. And I think they go away from that. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because they're not hitting. It's like, oh, I gave you 2, you missed 2. There's 2 open shots. Now it's my turn to eat a little bit. And I think that sort of selfish play starts to show itself. And I think also, I want to say, although Rose is playing really well, he is also a part of that problem, where I see him go for him, and he's like, I'm trying to, in his mind, he's like, we need buckets, and nobody's, connecting. So I'm going to attack the basket and make some and score some points. But also that takes everyone away from the floor of the offense. So if you come down and it's a pick and roll and you're the one who's shooting it and you're the one holding the ball, it's like no one else touched it the entire, sequence. It's like you can do that in spots, but not on a consistent basis. That's an issue.
Yeah. No, you took the words out, because I was going to say before, I don't think they're doing enough pick and rolling. They need to do, like, they should be running pick and rolls with Noel, with Taj if they have to. I know Taj is not athletic anymore, but with Noel, definitely. They were doing it earlier in the season. They got to figure out ways to combat these droughts. They got to, the pick and rolls is supposed to give you easier opportunities at scoring. So you got to do it. Even if Noel goes to the line, he's been hitting his free throws.
Yeah. The problem is that the rim running isn't strong, right? Mm-hmm. If you do it with Toppin, which seems like it's a possibility that could work, because at least he does a pick and roll aggressive. Then play that. Also use Randall in a pick and roll. I don't really see him in a pick and roll.
Yeah.
Really see him in a pick and roll. He should be the person actually applying the picks and rolling versus the person who's asking for the pick. You know what I mean? It's like a pick and pop. Him and Bullock is what I always see. And it's like the pick and pop's not there for you. So let's switch it up. Let's use you on the pick and roll. You know what I mean? You should be the one attacking the basket. And making Noel be the one who's, kind of like when you're off the pick and roll, you get the pass, who drives to the basket secondary. So in case he has the option to, pass it to you or shoot the ball. The problem is that Noel doesn't catch the ball really well.
We know you got the baby hands.
It's weird. But I this is also something like, and I don't really know the Hawks team, but are they 100%? Like team-wise, they're fully loaded. Like everyone's playing. Who needs to play?
No, there's a couple guys that aren't playing. Like the dude from Duke that was on the team with Barrett and Zion. I always forget his name.
Not sure.
Yeah, he was a shooting guard. He's not playing. There's another guy that's not playing either. So they got even more they could throw.
The bigs or the smalls? They're like they're like small forwards and shooting guards.
One is a small forward, and the shooting guard is the guy from Duke that I was talking about.
Right.
I always forget his name.
So the only reason why I bring that up,
Reddish.
Okay. The reason why I'm bringing that up is because the game becomes a lot different had we had Mitchell Robinson.
Oh yeah.
Because it's a difference when it comes to like someone who can actually, get the rebounds and attack the boards the way, he does, and can rim run and catch the alley oops or tip ins.
He's great on pressure defense, even out on the perimeter.
Right, and I think that's a big miss. That's unfortunate for us, but again, we can't make excuses. I would love to have seen a game where he had played to see how that was, because I think it shows even on the rebounding side, right, where we have to really do a lot, especially with Capella down there. We have to do a lot of team rebounding against the Hawks team because they're long and lengthy and they got some good jumpers on that team. But it almost seems like their offensive rebounds come at the worst times. It's like they get a bad bounce and all of a sudden they get the rebound. And I'm like, wow, that was a stop. That was two stops.
The Hawks have been getting all the bounces, bro. The Hawks are getting all the bounces.
That's because everyone has to rebound. And when you have so many people rebounding, the ball bounces further out and none of our guards are in the right place, And so, like I see D Rose down trying to get a rebound, Barrett trying to get a rebound. And it's like, who else even, like you don't have the spacing because you're going to need guys in the perimeter to catch the long rebounds. You don't have enough guys down there. So I don't know. I just think that because I think their length and size is bothering us. I think the shooting, of course, is bothering us. They have a lot of weapons. I think to what you said, and to start the series, you stated that they have a lot of good shooters, a lot of great talent. If you match up the talent, they're a better team. I didn't think they were, but I was wrong.
So it's really frustrating watching them because even when the Knicks do play good defense and say they stop Trey from driving, he makes a pass. They kick it to the wing. The wing gets, the good defense on the wing. They rotate it back this way. Then they hit the baseline. The baseline has the corner open. He throws it to the corner. Whoever's there is wide open. There's so many different options. And the Knicks rotation, because they're so scared of Trey, they're double teaming him. And then once they're, and that you to your point that you mentioned, sometimes they're double teaming so much because they're so worried that they get losing their assignments, and then they're triple teaming. And once forget it, they're dead. Once they triple team, it's a wrap. I don't care who it is.
It's crazy, and it affects them offensively because you see them they're looking at each other who's supposed to be there? You know what I mean? And then it's like, okay, now you bring in that baggage to your offense, and you can't even get to your sets. How many times have you seen them shooting with the clock winding down, and then it's a throw up, air ball by Toppin or air ball. It's like, come on, guys, let's get it together.
Part of that has to do with coaching too, because the Knicks don't have great offensive schemes. They're not built that way right now. It's all about the defense, and it's not like they've got great offensive players that can they know how to play the game. They can do whatever. You just give them the ball, they'll make something happen. They don't really have too much of that right now.
Right.
So that they're at a disadvantage.
Which is interesting because it's almost kind of how their offensive scheme works, right? Because it's predicated on Randall. And if Randall doesn't have the what they call it, the confidence, if Randall doesn't go into the game with that sort of confidence to feel like, hey, I'm that guy, right? Like that kind of Kobe Bryant Mamba mentality, I'm that guy, you have to stop me, then you really don't have anything. And I think that's where it starts, right? And ends with us. And I think, like you said it earlier, the Hawks realized that, and that's why they did the scheme that they're doing. They're playing up to his strengths. They're playing against his strengths right now. They're They know he wants to go right. I think too many of these. I think he had too many interviews because he kind of shared a lot of that information. And I think folks are taking heed to that. So they're forcing him to go left, and when he goes right, there's always a second or third person there, especially at the rim, and he either has the perimeter shot or he doesn't. And if he ain't clicking on that perimeter, then, we're kind of, he doesn't have enough option. And that's why I say that, like, that's the coach needs to put him in the right position at that point, right? Because if you have to put him in the block at some point. You have to put him in an area where he can go one-on-one at some point. Take advantage of the strength that he has. He's a strong guy, in his build, in hopes that he gets fouled and put to the line.
Yeah, but I will say the Hawks, they're able to do a lot of this because they do have that X factor in Capella, or even the young backup guy, because those guys, they got good timing on blocks. They really secure that lane. And it's obviously in the Knicks' head. It's part of the reason, because I know he hasn't been playing great, but you can't tell me that there's no reason why he shouldn't be on the court. I think Elfrid Payton's issue, like Thibodeau's issue with Payton, is the one thing he was doing was driving to the lane and getting those layups, but he can't do that against Capella.
Doing it. He's not looking to score, but also not making the right decision passing.
Yeah.
Right? Because when Capella's going to get off if he's going to jump, you got to make him jump, then make the pass.
Right.
You can't automatically stop, pump fake, turn, not even look at the defensive, how the defense is playing, and not seeing who's cutting. You know what I mean? And I think that slows down the pace. I kind of see where, if I was Coach Thibodeau too, I would probably, be on his ass about it. Be like, look, you either got to make a play or you don't. And then you're going to sit by me. I don't know if they had that discussion. They probably did. But he did. He wasn't really showing up the first two games. It's like you start the game out and you're hesitant. We know you can't shoot from the perimeter. They know you can't shoot from the perimeter. So either you got to work on a 15, free throw line in type jump shot, that floater wasn't going, but if you're driving to the basket and you're stopping, you give the defense an opportunity to get where they need to get. That's not going to help nobody. Now you're against the clock for sure.
No.
That's why you're against the clock, because what are you doing? You're in the paint with the ball in your hands, nowhere to go, because now everybody's looking at you. Have no option. You got to shoot because you can't pass now. You have to shoot. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's a catch-22. I would have liked to see Quickly start over Rose.
Well, that's
not just that Rose did a poor job. I think he did a great job. I think he's, like as a starter, he's doing what we need him to do. But just because we don't have enough off the bench.
I agree with you, but I'm not in the same. I'm not suggesting the same person. I don't like some of the things Quickly does. I don't think. I think maybe what he was doing good when he was excelling at in the regular season, in the beginning of the season, it changed a lot. He had the rookie wall. Then he started getting back to the Quickly ways. I think now that we're in the playoffs, I don't know if the game's moving too fast for him. I'm noticing two things. I'm noticing, one, he's very hesitant with his shot, which is not good, especially for a team that's trailing most of the time. Two, this is what I definitely noticed in game 3 and 4, but especially 4 in the fourth quarter. He gets the ball and he's not seeing people that are open. There was a point where there was 3 Knicks on the left-hand side. Quickly had the ball. He was driving up the middle. Obi ran around and came to the right. He was by himself with his hands up. Quickly didn't even look at him. Not that he looked him off. He didn't even see him. His face wasn't even turned that way. And Obi kind of just stood there for a little, and he put his hands down and he just played ball because he was like, obviously it's too late now. But like that's the type of stuff you got to see, especially if you're going to be in that point guard / role. And that's a problem for the Knicks. The Knicks got one facilitator. It's Rose, and Rose can't even facilitate that much because he's forced to score because nobody else is putting in baskets. I think if I was Thibodeau, I know he won't do it, but if I was Thibodeau, I would start the game with Ntilikina. I would put Ntilikina on Tray. Ntilikina may not be the facilitator you need, but he's not horrible. He can be in there playing good defense, even if he's fouling the crap out of Tray, giving him some looks, bodying him, making it difficult for him. And, all those shots that RJ's been getting in the corner, I think you give those same shots to Ntilikina. I think Ntilikina knocks down half of them because I think that's his shot. He can hit that. It's just like he's being wasted. I don't know why he's being wasted because I think he doesn't give that physical, that dog mentality that Thibodeau wants. But your dogs are losing. Okay, your dog's about to be out the playoffs. So I think he's got to switch it up. Another thing, and this is I'm going to give credit to my boy Prophet, because we were talking about it. He mentioned that I don't understand why Thibodeau is not playing small. He suggested, and when he suggested, I thought about it, and I agree. Randall at the 5, because you put Capella on Randall. Capella's a great defender, but if you bring Randall out, then you're bringing Capella out. Like you're giving yourself an option, and I think Randall can beat Capella on certain.
Who's the 4?
The 4 you could still be. It's still the same thing. You could still have either Taj or Noel in there, but you just switching the roles so that way Capella has more to worry about. Capella's got nothing to worry about with Noel and Taj down there.
But I don't think it works if you keep Taj because all they do is switch defensively. So you gotta go with a shooter. So either we're going back super small, which is Barrett, Burks, Bullock, Rose, or you put Toppin in there. Toppin doesn't really change the dynamic because he doesn't hit enough offensively on the 3-point line. Now, if you had Knox in the game,
well, I want to say Knox, but I think Thibodeau's just Knox is off the team. I don't know.
I don't think that those and the same goes for Ntilikina. I don't even think that's an option anymore, right? Like I don't think he's open to that opportunity or giving them enough burn to try something like that. Because I think and to his credit, you go with the guys who got you there. You know what I mean?
I agree. But Ntilikina was very he was an important piece down the stretch of those.
You go with the guys who got you there. Okay, Ntilikina didn't get us there. Ntilikina may have had a couple of games, and Knox probably had a couple of games where they scored 6 points, or maybe had an 8, and it was like, oh my god. But those are sightings; those are not getting you. You know what I mean? They're not the team that got you there. So,
but I mean, you got to look at it like this. Forget offense right now.
What's there to lose? I get what you're saying.
Forget offense.
Right.
You need stops, and they're not stopping Atlanta. So, one, Rose is playing way too many minutes, but you have no choice.
Too many. Yeah.
And so you got Rose working hard as hell on offense to score. You got Rose working hard as hell on defense to stay with Trae Young. He cannot, even though Rose is still one of the faster guards in the NBA, he's always been fast. He can't stay with Trae. Trae is fast. I mean, he's young, blazing speed. He's like top 5 in the league in speed.
And he has a really, versatile game, right?
He does.
He can score buckets from the inside when he needs to. He has a nice floater. And this is why I say I would have preferred quickly to start, because I think this is what this does. Just hear me out. It may not happen, but this is, to me, if you put Quickly as a starting point guard, automatically you force him to become the facilitator and not coming off the bench to be a scorer, right? So your mind state becomes a little different as a starting point guard. I'm in here to be a facilitator and to play good defense, to start the game. Now, when you're in the game with Rose, then you can become the shooter that you want to be, right? So it's kind of a catch-22. So for me, having Rose in that position, what Rose brings. He's super talented, and he's been that since we brought him back in, and he's played tremendous. But you have no bench now because now you're asking for Quickly, a young player, to try to do things that he is not so accustomed to doing, right? To being that first, second option. Him and Burks are the ones who are running the ball off on the second unit. And Burks is a better facilitator at this point in their career than Quickly is.
Right.
So instead of doing that, you keep Rose as a second coming off the bench to play with Burks because now you have two facilitators. Now you force Quickly to be sort of a facilitator to start the game and see how he does. At that point, he knows the main scorers is going to be Randall and Barrett, so the pressure's off, right? Plus, that gives you an extra perimeter shooter, someone who can hit an open shot if Bullocks is not knocking them down, right? Because if I'm taking a 3-point shot from Rose or a 3-point shot from Quickly, I'm going to choose Quickly. Personally, I'm going to want Quickly to have the shot.
Although Rose has been doing pretty good at knocking them down, surprisingly.
I agree. But if you put them side by side and you said, I'm going to give 10 shots to Quickly and 10 shots from Rose from the 3-point line extended.
Come on. All right. Yeah, come on.
You know what I mean? Like, it just seems the better fit. And that's why I was like, in my mind, I'm like, man, why would Tibbs go with Rose when Rose has played so well? You know what I mean? Like, you lose Payton, this is the perfect opportunity for someone like Quickly to come in. He's young, he's athletic, he has a similar game to Trae Young. He can potentially do the same thing that Trae Young does and get him in foul trouble. You know what I mean? On the offensive end. You know, there's a catch-22 there. You're going to get him into foul trouble, or you can get Trae into foul trouble. But you have speed against speed. It's young legs against young legs. Same mentality. You know what I mean? They're looking at, you know what I mean? So it's like you match up where you can match up. I agree
with that. That works.
Once I heard Rose, I was like, damn. Because I knew what that meant. It was like you don't have a bench now. The bench is not what it used to be when Rose was coming off the bench.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? Especially, you know, when you're down a couple, maybe down 6, and you know you need a momentum shift.
Yeah.
You bring Rose in. Rose is that momentum, you know, and it has been.
I agree. No matter what, I agree that Rose should be coming off the bench. I would prefer him messing with the second unit than with the starters, because I just think that second unit. You see how the second unit played in the first game.
Right.
We lost, but
they came
like 2
back.
points.
Right.
Yes.
It was the second unit.
I like that better, and I think Thibodeau needs to, no matter what he does, but who knows what he's going to do because he's Thibodeau and he's stubborn.
Right.
I think he needs to really consider putting Rose back on the bench and figuring out someone else to come with. If it's Quickly, fine. I think he would probably go with Burks. That's what I think he would do.
It's dumb, right? Like, because you go with Burks, now you're doing the same thing. Because now you're like, to me, it's one of two options. You either bring Payton back or you go with Quick, because you're not doing anyone a good service, because the reality is Ntilikina hasn't played enough.
Yeah, well,
he hasn't played this entire season to say that he's going to come in and be ready. You get what I'm saying? The game, the pace of the game in the playoffs is a lot more than it is in practice. And we could only go by what he's done in practice because he hasn't had enough gameplay this season. You know what I mean? So it's like we know from history that he can lock down some players, but we haven't seen enough of him this year to even know if he's capable anymore. That 1 minute doesn't show you anything. He's had spurts, you know, some good spurts and moments this year at the back end of the season, but is that enough? I don't think it is.
I'll tell you one thing though. He may not be in my in the same mix that I'm trying to put him out there at, but Knicks ain't playing, you know, the way they need to be playing in Game 5. Ntilikina's going to get in that game. I have a feeling he's going to play.
He should though, but because the way Bullocks is shooting.
Yeah, that's tough too. That's tough. Like he picked the worst time to not be hitting shots.
The worst time, and he's missing everything. He's missing like like open shots and like horrible and then defensively he's doing the same thing. He's over.
They got him. Yeah, and plus he's being like I get it. It's basketball. Like you want to beat the Knicks. It's Thibodeau. You want to be physical. That physical stuff ain't working with these guys because they move the ball well. Like you can be physical with Trey, but you're not doing much.
But
like, I don't know.
It's not the 90s.
Yeah.
Every call is a flagrant. Like you're not going to get anything that isn't a flagrant anymore. Like what used to be a touch foul, like a one shot, free throw attempt is now the one free throw and the ball. It's like come on now, it's a different type of basketball game. You can be physical without being, overly aggressive. And I think part of our scheme right now, and I think what's taking us out of the game is that we're trying to be overly aggressive in the worst time. In the worst time, it's like you're over pursuing. Same thing with Barrett, over pursuing. You get beat backdoor. You know what I mean? Like, what's the over pursue for? Stay in front of your man. This is the concept is the same. Stay in front of your man. Don't let them go baseline.
I agree with that. I said this the other day. I think that they should just play everybody straight up and just see what happens. Trey is gonna get past his guy, right? You can, but
yep.
Sorry, allergies, man. It's allergies. Anyway,
pollen's heavy.
Trey's gonna get past his guy on a lot of occasions, right? But let that happen, and the only person who needs to step up is whoever's playing center. When that guy steps up, then the four or whoever's the small should be able to, try to help out with their man. And that's it. Leave the defense at that. Try something different. Try straight up, because too many of these double teams and these rotations, they're getting confused. Then this is what happens. It was funny because it wasn't funny. I was mad. It was one of those situations where the rotation was off. Two guys came from different sides to help. And what happened was, they left somebody open for three. Okay. Then the next time down the court, I don't know if it was Trey or Lou Williams, went straight up the lane because both those guys thought the other guy was going to come help and take him, and they didn't. And he got an easy layup. Right. Like these type of things, if your defensive scheme right? If your defensive scheme is not working the way intended because of whatever they're doing offensively, then take it off for a little bit. You can still go back to it because that's your identity, and maybe that's what you want to keep in the back of their head, that it's still there and we're going to hit you with it. But play straight up and see what happens.
I think the best threat for us is that we keep going over the screen instead of under the screen.
It could be.
We're playing over the screen. Everybody's playing over because they want to take away the three ball, but that's not working because he's been willing to take it to the basket and do the lob pass and do the floater and pass the ball out. So if he's willing to do those things and take those out of his bag when needed, then you need to stay under the screen, let him beat you by the 3-point game. If he can shoot that many 3-pointers and make them, then so be it. Then that's the player he is, and so be it. So he becomes the next Curry, Reggie Miller type, right?
Yeah.
Kudos to you. But you have to give him different looks. If you keep going over the screen every time down, he keeps driving the ball. And then he's doing popping kicks, and then he's coming back to the 3-point line off of screens and coming back and shooting a rhythm three. You want him to take not rhythm threes that are not in rhythm, and that's the only way to do it. You have to make him do it off the dribble, and he has to stay consistent of doing that in order for him to beat you. I think they're doing way too much. Bullocks and all over pursuing, doing way too much. All of them. Everyone who plays up against them is going over the screens and playing too aggressive. It's like you need to play a balanced defense. You're not going to allow for Trae Young to get to the paint, because if you get any guards that go in the paint, those are automatic. The percentages of you scoring become a lot higher. If you got penetration into the paint, that allows for someone to be open. whether it's a lob or open 3-point from the corner. You're going to get someone open.
Plus, with a guy like Trey, he's automatic. He gets to the line. He's shooting the free throws. Right. He's knocking them down.
Exactly. And Bogdanovich the same, because he was doing the same thing. They were moving him through pick and rolls, and he's driving the lane, making the right decision. They're hitting threes that are like in rhythm. And if you can hit threes in a rhythm, then that's perfect for a team like that. But one thing the Knicks have to do is stop overloading, stop going over screens. Like, this is a team where you want to play under the screen, you know, and then give them some space so you know they can't collapse, go drop to the basket. I'd rather him shoot a 25-footer than, you know, a 10-footer, you know, or someone who's wide open.
But I will tell you, even when – and then you got all this stuff that's happening, everything we've named, and then you want to top it all off to throw in, there's these debilitating moments that just break your back when Trey wants to go up there and pop a three from the freaking logo, or even Herder was shooting some far threes. Then you got Bogdanovich who's shooting kind of, you know, a little farther past the line, like outside of your defensive realm, like you're sticking to a certain section. These guys are pulling from way out. That's tough, man. And then when you're down and try to fight back in, and they hit one of those.
But that rhythm, that's the thing. And that's what I was telling you. You let a team gain confidence, which the Knicks allow them to do. Now it's going to be even harder to get them out of rhythm, because now they know they got the good looks. They're in rhythm. They're not scared anymore. There was a moment when we were tied when we won that game, to bring it back to Atlanta. We go into Atlanta. We had a momentum shift there. We could have taken advantage of that, but then allowing Trae Young to drop to the basket on a regular basis isn't going to allow you to do anything.
No. And, another thing is, like, even with the helps and the different rotations that you're playing, you got Randall trying to, help out with certain – Randall's guarding Bogdanovich or Collins. So he goes to help. These guys are wide open. Collins is definitely a formidable three-point shooter. He can hit them. Bogdanovich hit 8 in the game this season. Like, come on, man. Like, you gotta do. I'm telling you, they gotta try to play straight up or something.
And I don't understand why they keep switching. Like, why is Randall playing Young straight up? They shouldn't. Unless it's a tough pick, they shouldn't be switching. Like, it's a pick. Go under the pick. That way you're in front of your guy. You're not trailing him. And every time down, when you look at the replay, they're trailing the pick and roll. They're going around the screen. They're going over the top. It's like you're going to lose every time against a kid like that. You're going to lose every time. So go under from now on. Go under and do kind of what you do, what they call that. It's kind of like the forward steps in your way and allows the player to come to regroup. You know what I mean? You don't actually give him the lane to go around, make him give a hesitation. But you can't keep going over the screen. Over the screen is just not going to work. It's not
another thing I'm thinking, we are playing Atlanta Hawk basketball. We're not playing Knicks basketball. We're not slowing down the pace. And they've slowed our pace down. They've kept their pace and slowed our pace down because we are not even able to get fast breaks. After game 3, when they were talking to Derrick Rose, I feel like, did I tell you this already?
No.
It's like deja vu to me. They were talking to Derrick Rose, and one of the things Derrick Rose, well, first off, he pointed out the second quarter. He said the second quarter in game 3 is where they lost that game because they played great on the first, not great, but they played good in the first quarter, played good in the third quarter, and the fourth quarter when you look at the back to back. But the second quarter was where Atlanta scored high 20s and the Knicks had like 12 or 13, and that was the whole game. They led by 14 for most of the whole game after that point. But he also said he asked one of the guys, the statistician or the reporter, or whoever. He's like, does anybody know how many fast break points we had? And they told him 0. He's like, that's a problem. He's like, we're not pushing the ball. We're not getting easy opportunities. We got to do better at that too. And that's also a playoff thing, but the Hawks have taken that away. The Knicks can't push. And if they do push, this last game, they tried to push more. Randall tried to get out there. RJ tried to get out there. Then they get a break. Like this is why you know that they're not ready.
Weird too.
You get a break where you got Bullock and RJ. RJ passes it to Bullock, and Bullock doesn't know what to do with the ball. He winds up traveling, and instead of just giving it back to RJ, if you're not going to shoot it, just give it back to him. He's like indecisive. Like this is the type of stuff you can't do in the
fast breaks, though. They're awkward in the fast breaks.
I know this is not good.
Even when you give it to Barrett, who's probably the best we have at a fast break, you give it to him. He's trying to bully his way into the lane. And it's like, dude, if you don't got it, if it's a 2-on-1 fast break, the guy steps up, you got to give the pass back. You got to. Yeah, but there's also like situational, right? Like you're not every time you're going to have a fast break and it's a 2-on-1 that you're going to draw a foul.
Right.
In his mind, he's like, I'm going to go up because I'm either going to draw a foul or score. And that doesn't work in NBA because sometimes you're not going to get the call. So you got to make the right decision on a fast break. You know, it's you and Rose. Rose gives you a lead pass. He's trailing the play. You have a finisher trailing the play. Kick it back out to him. Kick it back to him. It's easier. It's harder for a defense to set their feet and draw a foul if they know that the ball may move, right? If they know the ball's going to stick, guess what? They're going to stand still, draw the charge.
No, I agree. And you know, that's the type of thing, like, even with Bullock knows he's not great on the fast break. This has got to go back to RJ. Figure out how to do, you know, look, I know that whenever I played basketball, if we're running the break, of course I'm the big guy, but, you know, and when we played, but if we're running the break and I know I got another guy running with me who I know he's a good finisher, I'm going to take the ball and try to bring it to a certain point where I bring the defender with me. But I got to see him come with me. Once it comes with me, I'm giving it back.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
It's simple.
But they're awkward. It doesn't seem like they practice enough fast breaks. The only one who really knows how to run a fast break is Rose in that team.
Exactly.
Everyone else does not know where they need to be. And even in moments where they're like, I seen them a couple of moments where they have an opportunity. They have an opportunity even to kick for a three, and they're not even looking perimeter-wise. They'll see just the basket, and it's like, come on, you got guys trailing. It's the wings of you. You know, like you're gonna force that up. You're gonna force that. You know, you can't force a fast break. You know, fast breaks should come easy, and that's what's so great about I think that's where Golden State has changed the game. Because as great as Golden State was during their run, and Curry and Thompson, their greatest attribute is that they can run the fast break and get a three. They can run a fast break and hit open players. And that's the key. And that's what changed the game. That's why the game has evolved the way it has. Because that pace of like getting up and down, but not just looking for guys who are running the fast break with you, you know, for a layup. They're looking for guys who can shoot the three, and they're willing to pass that and make that shot.
And Trey did that to us in Game 4. It was a 2-on-1, and he pulled it back. He shot a three.
Right, but that's the new game, right? Yeah. That's the new game. That's the new NBA. But you have to practice that, and I don't think the Knicks practice that enough. You know, it's like, they're super awkward in fast breaks. It's like weird. It's like it seems like, and it also comes from, you know, playing the style of basketball we play this year, you know, where everything is through sets. You know, they're not trying to get up the court quickly. There was a moment in time during one of the regular season games where I saw, like, I think it was the Pacer game where Randall was getting out. Like, you know what I mean? There'll be a rebound, and he's not even thinking. He's just going. He's just running out, and he had a couple of fast break points. That's something I would like to see, because Randall, I think, has a capability, you know, to get out and run. I just don't think he does it, you know. And I think he's in his feelings too. Like,
no, I think he is. I think he is. Yeah,
he's in his feelings, and that's going to cost him a bag, in my opinion. It's like, you can't look at a player like that as well as he did this year, and then playoff time, you're constantly making faces and, like sort of making excuses and arguing with the refs, looking for foul. Like, play the game. There comes a point in time where you got to play the game.
I think I think they're gonna still give him the bag, but I think they're gonna wait. I think they're gonna see if they could bring somebody in to be with him, because if the team is constituted as is and it's gonna stay similar to what it is, then I don't think they would want to give him that bag, because they've seen what it is. Like that. You gotta bring in. I think they want to try to definitely go get one more guy that can score, because you gotta be able to, have a dependable dude, and then you get yourself another role player, but who's a 3-and-D type or whatever. But he's got to be a guy who can shoot the three, because that's still one of the things they lack at. Yeah, you got to get another consistent shooter out there.
Right.
And back to what we were talking about earlier with Randall. Like, you're right, man. They should be doing all types of things with Randall. When's the last time you seen somebody pick Randall's guy so Randall can get free?
No, it's usually the pick from Bullock, but it's going back to Bullock.
Right. Like do stuff for Randall.
That don't make no sense.
The Knicks should be doing – they are not that great of an offensive team. They should be coming up with different ways to get easier looks at the basket.
Yeah, I think a part of that too, and I'm hoping that this isn't tips, but a part of that seems to be Randall's lack. It seems like Randall's lacking confidence is affecting his will to want the ball. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because think about a player like Kobe Bryant. He's going to demand the ball. Don't care who's on the court. I'm going to demand the ball because I'm the best player on that team. And because his confidence isn't where it needs to be, he doesn't have that demanding approach. He's kind of like, all right, run the set. And then he's, it's the posture, When you don't have that posture, and then you can't just snap on. You can't, there are moments in time his posture is just horrible, and then he's relying on the refs, and then you can't turn it on and off. And then he comes off at the second half, and he tries to come back to where I'm energetic, I'm gonna bring it. No, you have to have that for the full 48. You have to have it beyond a full 48, because if you go to OT, you need
his old plan. He would have certain games where Randall would come out and facilitate the whole first quarter. I mean, he would get a couple shots just to, see the rim, but he would try to get everybody else involved and get them off, because as the game goes along, he knows he's going to take over and get his. And that's not happening right now.
You need the opposite approach.
Try to do that before. Yeah, he needs to go and get off early and consistently. He should be getting 5 or 6 points each quarter. Wow, that's the low balling. I'm just saying, he needs to. What we're looking at is it's a quarter by quarter type thing. Oh, Randall had 12 in the second, 2 in the third.
Right.
Randall had 10 in the third the other game. You can't. Right. He needs to be consistent, throughout the game, pushing it.
Yeah, he should be at the very least trying to score eight each quarter. At the very least,
that's a nice number.
At the very least, 8 each quarter. Because the reality is that he has to bring it to. He has to be the one willing to take the sacrifice and say, "Hey, I hit or miss. It's on me." Right? You can't rely on, and that's what Rose is doing. Rose is playing that role. Rose is saying, hit or miss, it's on me now, right? Because Randall is not playing confident enough. He's not demanding the ball, and then even in moments he's demanding the ball, he's demanding it at the 3-point line. You don't demand the ball on the 3-point line. You demand the ball on the post. Get your ass down on the post. Get the ball. Get in the high post. Get the ball. Free throw line. Get the ball, right? If they can't get you the ball, come to the ball. Now run a set. Run a pick and roll. You know what I mean? You have to know the game. And that's the thing. If you're the main player, you're supposed to be the big scorer, you have to score buckets. You can't go to the basket trying to facilitate. You have to score first and then facilitate second.
Yeah.
You can't
think about
that's
How about instead of like we know what RJ's comfortable with? I think the Knicks have figured that out, and so they try to put him in the best possible position to get to those corner threes. How about since those corner threes are not being knocked down, it is what it is, life. How about you start moving RJ around? How about you say let's put RJ up top so that when Randall does his thing and he goes to the paint and they double team, instead of him kicking it to RJ in the corner, he's kicking it to Bullock or Burks. A better shooter. This is the type of things that I'm looking at, and I'm like, okay, it's great. RJ's getting wide open shots in the corner where he's been proficient at, but let's get our better shooters in those spots so they can get their games going because they're not hitting. Burks had one good game. I mean, when we look at it, he's played good, but he's had one really good game, and Bullock has had no good games.
Exactly. But that's
the game we won. He did hit 3 threes in the fourth quarter, which was big. We needed that. But I'm just saying, like consistently for those other 3 quarters, he didn't do nothing, and that's how it's been every game. You got to get these guys open.
I agree with you, and also, why not put Barrett on the block too? Why can't he post up anybody? Why are we not giving him the ball in the post up? Like he's a willing passer. He's a good passer, actually. Closer to the rim he is. He does really well passing the ball. It's just you got to have confidence that, Gibson will catch it, but, you got to also have confidence in Noel. But I would also utilize him in the post. Like Bogdanovich isn't really, strong enough. Neither is Herter. So, you're going to have to put, what's the kid? Houston, what's his name? Hunter's strong enough. He's also
a good defender, though. He was Defensive Player of the Year in college.
If you can't post him up, but anyone else, you should be able to put him in the post. You know what I mean? As a matter of fact, so many opportunities that they haven't really shown. It's like the same play over and over. It's too predictable.
And put RJ in the block too. I mean, I'm Randall on the block too.
Randall on the block.
Johnny's on Randall. Come on, man. He should be killing Bogdani. I mean, Bogdani. Why do I keep saying that? I meant Gallinari. I keep saying Bogdani. I meant Gallinari.
Gallinari for sure. And he's faster than Gallinari for whatever reason.
Yeah, Gallinari is slow feet.
The second and third player that rotates over is making Randall second guess it. And that's what I'm saying. If you can't go by him and pull up, for a 15-footer and not fade away, just straight up pull up for a shot. If you can't do that, put yourself in the post. You're stronger than Gallo. He is taller, but you're stronger than him. Use every weapon you have at that point. Up and under, fakes, whatever it is.
I agree.
It's just, Gallo's never been a great defender. So we're making him a great defender now, which is interesting. We're making him look like he's developed a defensive game, and he's really not that guy.
Even Trey's not a good defender.
Yeah, but we're making them all seem that way. It's the scheme. The scheme has gotten them all frazzled, but also it starts, like I said, Randall has to have that Kobe mentality. He has to have that I'm gonna go get you mentality. Like I'm going for 40. Try to stop me, right? Like you got to go with that mind state. And it doesn't look like he's going there thinking that. He's going into the game. He may have thought that the first game and shot himself out the gym. That may have been the reality, right? All that built up emotion, the crowd was rocking. He may have went in that game saying, I'm dropping 50. You know what I mean? And this is going to be a great game, and then shot himself way out the game and then confidence went to the wayside. But that's the thing. When you talk about greatness and those elite all-star players, confidence never goes away. Look at Giannis. He's not the best shooter. Confidence never goes away for him. Yeah. You know what I mean? He always feels like he's going to make the next play, the next big play, and defensively he's better, of course, as a player. But, I don't know. I think Randall has to learn that.
I think that, on Wednesday, the Knicks need to come out and definitely try some different things. I think Thibodeau's got to throw that stubbornness to the side and say, look, I'm just going to do whatever I think will help us have a chance to win. things aren't going great. If it's a 4.6 point lead, let's make a change, right? Let's not let it get extended, and then later we say, okay, let's try, because once this is the thing. This is a closing game for Atlanta. Once it gets to a certain point, the Knicks are going to start to feel it. Then that always happens. It's all.
We cannot go down 9.
No,
we go down 9 or more, it's over, because we don't have the team right now that's built to come back from deficits like that. Like, we've had our moments this year where we've done it, but we're not built like that. We're not a team that's built to make those leaps and bounds and go through a run of 6 and 7 3-point shots and getting 2 stops. We're not that team.
I agree. They definitely need to They need to come out and do what they got to do and attack. And they have the Garden, so that's going to be added thing for them. They got to use it. So
I'm that's the thing. This is the kind of Garden that we live in today, because the Garden isn't filled with folks like you and I. Let's be honest. The Garden is filled with a lot of folks who are, they're riding this wave. So it's like, if they go into that and the Knicks aren't up, there isn't going to be a momentum shift, right? The Garden is going to be quiet if we go down a certain amount of, you've seen it. We already seen it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Yeah. This is not the Garden of the 90s where we were allowed to come in and pay $40 tickets and get some decent tickets. You know what I mean? Or, sometimes 30, 25, in the nosebleeds, where we were able to come to these games and be impressionable and be loud from start to finish, even when we were losing. That's not the same Garden. This Garden is filled with different kind of people, different type of clientele who are riding the wave, and they're spending a lot of money, and so be it, but they're going to be quiet. They're quiet once we start losing the lead, so we got to come, have the lead, be consistent with the lead. If we lose the lead, not lose the lead by much, stay in the game. I say, yeah. I don't see it.
I agree, man. Well, I'm hoping that on Wednesday they definitely come out and play strong basketball, put their heart in it, and whatever happens. But hopefully it goes in the favor of the Knicks and in favor of us as fans.
I'm hoping for a game.
I agree. I wanted to ask you something real quick before we got out of here. What do you think about what's going on with the NBA, with these fans and the disrespect that they're showing to these athletes?
It's out of control. It's out of control. Like when they were talking about the spitting, I didn't even realize it happened. Because I seen that game and I didn't even realize that even occurred with the spitting. But when they highlighted that, I'm like, man, they should highlight that person who did it. Find the shit out of, like, really sue him. Allow Trey to sue his ass, because we're coming off of a pandemic. You fucking spit on someone? Like, seriously? Like, to be honest, bro, like, deserves a slap in the face. It's like straight up, like, disrespectful. Like, I don't care who you think you are, how much money you spent. That's wild. That you wildin'. That's new level type shit. Like,
That's crazy, right?
Sorry. If you talk to me too close to my face and put some spit on me, I'm punching you dead in your mouth. I'm not even talking about it. It's straight. I'm straight punching you. So
imagine you got Trey getting spit on, you got Westbrook getting popcorn thrown on him, you got Kyrie getting a water bottle thrown at him. Even though I don't like Kyrie, but that's not the point.
Right.
Then you got
that's crazy.
Quickly, which is weird because Quickly said he got a beer thrown on him at the Garden. Like, what is going on? What are these guys doing?
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't know. It's way too much ridiculousness. And there's this I don't know if the media is playing this up or not, but they're kind of calling it what they call it. What is the word that they use? I'm trying to remember the word they use. A privilege. They're using privilege a lot. I'm hearing that term thrown around, and I'm not necessarily sure if it's just privilege. I don't think that's what it is. I don't think folks are going into games thinking I'm privileged, so I'm going to do this. Now, there may be some that may feel that way. I'm not going to take any side on that, but I just see it playing itself out in the media a lot, and due to the kind of circumstances where we're all living through, where this world is what it is, and it's, shaken, and racism is real. Sometimes I may feel like it's overplayed a bit more, at least media-wise, the hype. Right. I think that's not going to lend itself to anyone, good on the side of, of sanity. It's just going to make things elevate to another level. So I think the media needs to be careful about how they just portray these things out to be sometimes not what it is. I mean, a bonehead person is a bonehead person, no matter what race they are. If you're an asshole, you're an asshole. But I think what there needs to happen is there needs to be accountability first and foremost. The same that goes along with everything else that's happening in the world. There needs to be accountability first and everything else second. Accountability will change the dynamic of the situation, right? So let's say if the kid who spit, the kid who threw water, or the person, I don't know if they're kids or the young adults, but the person who does that, who commits the sort of crime or whatever, get held in the same regard, right? Like you get, you need to fit that penalty needs to fit what you just did. You know what I mean? And not trying to say we need to put ourselves in a police state, because I don't agree with that either. But I do agree with penalty. Like if you go in and now, okay, granted, that guy who spit was, I guess they figured out who it was. He wasn't a season ticket holder, and he's banned for life. Okay, what else? Because that isn't doing anything to him, right? He can still watch the game from home. He probably bought the ticket off of someone else and is not a regular. You know what I mean? He's just a bandwagon. You know what I mean? He's riding this wave. And so what does that do to him? I think they need to take him, sue his ass, let Trey sue his ass for spitting on him a decent amount that where it affects his pockets, and he would never try that shit again. Right?
I agree. That makes sense. And the other thing is, honestly, when you do something like that, you're in a public atmosphere, public arena, and you've created a public spectacle. He should be made public. Yep. There's guys that have done nothing wrong. They've just, like Bartman with the baseball.
Baseball, yeah.
His life was basically ruined because of that. But a mistake that he didn't even mean to affect the game. He saw the ball, he went to grab the ball, whatever. The Cubs lost.
That's the Boston. That's big. It was
the Cubs, right?
Bartman was the Cubs. Yeah.
Like, stuff like that. I mean, it's a huge mistake. Yes, it affected the game. It affected their whole chance to win. But come on, man! Like a guy who actually deliberately does something that's distasteful, spitting on a guy. If you spit on anybody in general, you got a problem. Imagine spitting on a guy. He didn't even know he was getting spit on at that. His back was turned. Like, come on.
We've seen people go down a lot less. You know what I mean? Like lose their life for a lot less. So that was like OD. And like at the I think you're right. Public spectacle. They need to become a public spectacle where they're frowned upon and highlighted the disgusting that was. Same thing with the popcorn thrower and I think all of it kind of goes hand in hand. Although the spitting was outrageous, but still highlighting them as individuals, making a spectacle of them, and not only that, allowing the player to also gain leverage, allowing the player, even though they don't need the money, allowing the player to make a statement.
You could say, and send it to a charity.
Exactly. We're going to sue the hell out of you, and now that money on a monthly basis off your check goes to charity, depending on what you earn, right? Make it hurt a little bit, right? If they can do this to fathers who are not, who are like, what they call those absentee fathers or whatever.
Right.
You can garnish their check, garnish the hell out of this person on a lawsuit, and make sure that the punishment fits the crime. You
got to do something kind of to deter things because it's getting a little out of hand. I mean, it's too much. This stuff happens like every so often, but it's happening way too much right now.
We already know there's verbal abuse that happens at every sports, in every sport, right? Like not from the fans, because the fans feel like they need to be a part of this is how they help their team, the verbal abuse or whatever. And, even sometimes that goes a little extreme, but, at least the players know in their mind, at least they know that this comes with the territory.
Right.
They're going to talk their shit. I'm going to talk my shit. And that's where it comes. That's the end of it, right? I'm not going to see you later. You're not going to see me later. Once that passes the line and you start feeling like you can entertain someone by throwing a drink, doing other things, throwing shit at them, like that's OD. Like those people need to be detained, taken, highlighted, spectacle, put them under the ringer. You know what I mean?
Because you don't want to get the wrong one in the wrong situation. Because Westbrook would have been the wrong one. If Westbrook would have been caught in a different spot where he could have got into the stands, he would have definitely went into the stands.
The Palace, I think everyone, for the most part, right? Like, there comes a commitment. Look, listen, the NBA, I wouldn't consider everyone in the NBA to be a fighter, right?
Right.
But everyone in there is a man to some degree, right? You're a human, so you have feelings. You know what I mean? And you're not going to always be in the best state of mind or mind state or mind frame to be like taking on that sort of abuse. You know what I mean? Because that's what it is. It's not even, it's an attack at that point, right? So it's like, there was a situation, someone was screaming at someone's mom, right? That was something that happened. I don't know what player that was, but
yeah, I don't know either.
It was a player's mom that was getting attacked from the stand. Like, really? Like, you really gonna go after a mother, like a parent or someone in the stands for that? Come on, like that's out of line, That to me is out off the chain. Plus, not to mention the NBA should do a better job to have spaces for families to see their sons or
children,
family members play. You know what I mean? Like, they shouldn't be in a mix, especially against an opposing crowd. They should be in there. Yeah, man, it's getting out of control. It's getting out of control.
I just wanted to get your take on it real quick because I just think it's something that's happening around the NBA, and definitely people are talking about it. And as fans that we are, I could never see myself, or I don't know, you could never see yourself doing something like that. It's not something you even think about. Like, so it's like, what is wrong with people?
Never. I respect everyone. That's I want to be respected. I'm gonna respect everyone else. So that's just standard. That's just what it is. You know what I mean?
It's a different time now, man. People and people are still a-holes. They're still crazy. So they're everywhere.
People tend to act crazy.
Well,
when they choose to be, right? Because they're not really crazy. You know what I mean? Like, crazy has its limitations, and I think for most fans out there, they may act crazy because they feel like they saw some sort of protection, but there's going to come a time where that, like the Palace, you know what I mean? Like that's plain example. Like, you give someone the wrong opportunity, they get open, anything can happen. You know what I mean?
Very true. And
so it just needs to stop. I'm always a strong believer of an eye for an eye. You know what I mean? So It's like, hey, it is what it is. You did something, you steal, your fucking hand should get chopped off. Okay. You know what I mean? Choose to do it wisely.
Let me go back like 30-something years. Let me not be around John.
I'm saying, man, listen, there hasn't been a
piece of candy. It was one piece of candy.
I'm just saying, man, it's not enough, bro. Like, then you take one pinky. Make sure that you like to take your hands and touch your pinky. It's like, come on, man. Like, enough's enough, man. This world is getting too crazy. There needs to be some accountability and some actionable situations to happen. Not
gotta be repercussions.
Absolutely. And not to say that, we gotta militarize everything. Nah, not at all. But we need to police ourselves. You know what I mean? We got to be willing to police ourselves, because if we don't do it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, granted, you do have some rights. I mean, you are there. It's a sporting event. You pay big money to be there, but you still got to there's plenty of people that will love to be in your seat. And,
you have the right to cheer and to boo.
Right. And you're in especially in basketball, that no other sport gets you that up close to the players. Like, you're that close to the game. Enjoy it, respect it, whatever. Yeah. I don't know, man. Look, whatever. It is what it is. Hopefully they get it right, and there's some things that get done so that way they can, lock this down a little bit and start sending a message to these people. So that going forward, we can avoid this stuff and the players can just play basketball. Ideally,
that would be the greatest scenario for everybody,
Right.
Penalties have to be stricter, though.
Yeah, no, I agree. Oh, man, listen, this was good. It was therapeutic. I needed it to be able to get all this out because I've been stressing. I've been dealing with it. A lot of agina. So, yeah, man. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Still Knicks Fans podcast. This is, once again, Know the Ledge. It's the post-game recap as well as preview. But, we're just hoping that somebody out there saw some of this. Maybe they took something from it. Get it to Tibbs. Tell whoever you got to tell.
Because we got a game tomorrow.
Yeah, man. Listen, let's get this out there. We need it. We need it. Anyway, man, it's been a pleasure, John. You got anything, last words you want to say?
No, man, I just appreciate everybody for tuning in and, keep it in 100 with us. We do the best we can. This is basically just us filling in where we left off and just, giving us our take on everything, that happened. Again, you may agree or disagree, but it's our take. So
facts, and we're still Knicks fans, so
it's
always going to come off the hip. We're going to shoot straight.
A bit crooked at times.
A little bit. Thank you once again for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, tell your friends, and hopefully they tell friends. And we'll see you next time, and hopefully under better circumstances. Nice outcome.
Yeah, man. We got to take one game at a time, man. Just win one.
Yeah,
we're one and then on to the next. All right, bro.
Yo.
Peace.
Later.